Hello, I'm Karen Harrison. My website is karenharrison.net. Welcome to September 2025 Reiki Call podcast, where tonight we are going to be discussing Reiki and myths, the things that you've heard about Reiki that may or may not be true. So it's going to be an interesting discussion. My guest is Vanessa Francis. I'll tell you more about her in a minute, but we're going to start with some Reiki first. So let's place our hands together in Gasho and activate your Reiki energy. If you don't have Reiki yet, just intend to call on love, because that's what Reiki is. Reiki is love. And just breathe. And intend that the Reiki in your hands flow all the way through your arms, your shoulders, and up to your head. And then down your body, all the way through your chest and pelvic bowl, down your legs, and out your feet into the ground. And then imagine the beautiful life force energy of the earth flowing up through the bottoms of your feet, up through your hips, and your stomach, your chest, and your head, and out your crown. And now imagine that beautiful Reiki energy is spilling out over your aura, cleansing and clearing your aura. And now place your hands somewhere on your body and give yourself Reiki for just a moment. And I hope that all you Reiki practitioners are giving yourself Reiki every day. Breathing in Reiki, breathing out Reiki. Helping yourself to release stress and to be centered and calm. And we're grateful for each of you and the beautiful light and love that you are and that you carry and that you share in the world. And we affirm blessings for each one of you. Blessings of health, prosperity, love and connection, harmony, peace, fulfillment of your dreams. And we extend these blessings out to your family members, your friends, your pets, your plants. And on around throughout the entire world, seeing the entire world blessed, all people, all living things. We recognize we are all one, we are all connected. And so it is. Blessed be. Amen. Okay, so my wonderful guest, Vanessa Francis, is a Reiki Master, and she provides healing sessions for people and pets. She's also a personal assistant and organizer. She's been working for me for I don't know, 4 years?
Yep, coming up on 4 years next month.
Oh my gosh. And Vanessa is a woman of many skills. She helped me totally go through my old house in Leawood and get it all organized and release the things that I needed to let go of. and have it all organized for my move, and then helped me get the new house organized. And I don't know, she's done many things. One of my favorites is she puts up all my Christmas decorations and takes them down. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things to do too.
Okay. I don't know. It's between that and when you sprayed my tree for
The
beavers.
beaver. Yeah, that some of that might have ended up in my hair. I didn't get to make any new beaver friends on the way home, but it was fine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at least it served a purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. It was garlic spray, and her lovely red hair ended up with beaver spray all in it. So, all right. Well, whenever I do my follow-up email, I ask people what topics they want to hear about. And one of them wanted to hear about Reiki and taking on other people's energy. So I thought, well, this would be a good topic to talk about for myths. So have any of you worried about giving Reiki to somebody else because you were going to take on other people's energy or illnesses? Anybody worried about that? Okay, well, it is a common thing that I've heard actually from my students, not about taking on other people's illnesses, but about, taking on other people's energy. So, yeah, what have you heard about that, Vanessa?
Well, I've heard it questioned a lot, but I don't necessarily know exactly why each person might have had the reason to ask that. So even just in my own experience working with different ailments with people, that's never happened with me. So I don't I don't know the misconception there. So speaking on my experience can just help someone, understand it a little better.
Mm-hmm. So, whenever a person is an empath or a highly sensitive person, they may feel someone else's energy. So, if a person is really sad, they may feel heavy in their chest and worry that maybe, they're picking up that person's energy. But, in reality, you're just feeling it. And if you feel it, then that's their body telling your body, okay, you need to go and work there. So if you're feeling it in your chest, then you know that that's where you need to go next. Now, if it feels uncomfortable to you, what I tell people to do is tell yourself, this is not my energy. And then you ground it. You intend to send it down into the ground and release it and let it go. Okay, Brianna, did you have something you wanted to ask or share?
Mine's kind of the opposite. I'm worried about if I'm dysregulated, not being able to properly, I guess, help with the healings.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's kind of the opposite, is just making sure I'm not transferring anything towards them or
Uh-huh.
they're feeling any impure energy from me.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk about that next because that's another good topic, actually. So when sometimes I hear my empath students say, oh my gosh, I got sick after doing a Reiki session and I was sick for 2 days. If that happens to you, what that means is you were not well grounded, because if you're well grounded, then the energy is not going to stick with you. The other thing that can happen is if you're trying too hard. So you're actually using your own energy, like trying to push with your energy rather than allowing the energy to flow through you. One of the good things that we always start with is I intend to be a clear and open channel for only the highest and holiest Reiki energy. We want to use Reiki energy, not our energy. So I find that if I've tried too hard, then that's when I might be more likely to pick up someone else's energy and not totally clear it. But if you will, set your personality and ego aside, that'll take care of it. Now, grounding, after a session, you can go outside, walk on the earth. You can wash your hands. You can put them in salt. Go hug a tree. You can do my grounding meditation, which involves breathing earth energy up from the earth, down, up, down, up, down. And that will help clear your body. And then it's also good to clear your aura. So you go up, out, and then up, out, and up, out, clearing your aura down to the ground. Because not only your body can pick up energy, but your aura. And empaths tend to have really big auras. Okay. So they're also very spongy and they tend to pick up other people's stuff. Instead, you can intend to bring your aura in, bring it in like close to your body. There's a lot of times when it's really good to bring that aura in close. Number one, if you're on an airplane, you don't want to have a big, huge aura and feel everybody's energy on the plane. Okay. Suck that in, like body size, and intend that your energy is flowing up and down in a column. So
That's something I do a lot too. I do that a lot. It's very helpful because I am an empath and I'm a very sensitive, a hypersensitive person. So that's something I've done since I've been practicing as well. And it helps me make sure that I'm getting back to centered, releasing the energy that's not mine, and also any energy that just shouldn't be there can go back where it needs to go.
Yeah.
So I do find that very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And, we can pick up energy not only when we're doing Reiki, but, say in a work environment or a family issue, or like, hey, today, my sprinkler system broke and I'm finally figuring out, oh, my grass is looking horrible. My tree is losing its leaves. Some of my plants have totally died. I should have noticed it sooner. Anyway, I got on the phone with the sprinkler people and they were kind of saying, well, it was my fault. And, because I didn't do proper maintenance. So I was sending Reiki the whole time. But after that call, my energy field didn't feel very good. So what do? Kinyoku, make sure that you do Kinyoku. That's the dry bathing technique. You go brush, brush, brush. And then I'm going to not brush on you. You probably appreciate that. Okay, brush, brush, brush. Okay, Kinyoku dry bathing. It's in your Reiki 1 and 2 manual, Reiki the Healing Touch by William Rand. And, Vanessa, I imagine, there might be other times where you need to clear your energy. I know you've told me about some challenging discussions when you've had to advocate for your daughters at school or with a doctor. Yeah.
Yes. So when I first learned Reiki, I just did it then. And then I realized that, no, you couldn't do this in your life. So everywhere I deal with a lot of that because I have special needs kids. And so I'm constantly talking to schools and doctors. And sometimes they can go in different directions if I don't stay grounded. And even it helps with just emotional regulation in general.
Mm-hmm.
For the rest of your day. It can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what specifically do you do after one of those challenging interactions to clear your energy?
I will do I will do that. I do that, and then even just the grounding, like you showed, I like creating a safe space around me before I go places like that, and then I like wiping it off with the driving after when I'm done with those situations.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Hey, your internet isn't real stable. It keeps freezing. I don't know if you want to maybe turn off your Wi-Fi and just
Okay.
with data or what, maybe that would help give you better connection.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Sorry. Mm,
okay. Another thing that you can do if you feel you've picked up someone's energy is take an Epsom salt bath. You know, that's a powerful way to clear your energy field. And also know that if you are doing your self Reiki practice every day, that is going to strengthen your energy field and help you to heal. Because what happens is if somebody's got woundedness issues and it hooks in with your own woundedness issues, that's like where the energy can find a way in to hook in and hang on with you. But the more your energy field is healed, the less likely it is that it's, you know, it's not going to hook in. It's instead, it's going to like, oh, okay, it's going to kind of bounce off. Um, so, you know, I mean, we're not perfect. It's not always going to happen. But I remember one time I was talking to a family member who was upset with me, and I saw the upset coming when she called me into the room to talk to me, and I activated my holy fire Reiki and holy fire, holy fire, holy fire. It's a great way to transmute energy. And I stood there while she was chewing me out, and I thought, I'm not even feeling it. I'm not even feeling it. This is pretty cool. But I want to make sure that I didn't smile or laugh because I knew that was not going to make it go better. So, um, anyway, those are just some ways to, you know, protect your energy field, help yourself to heal. Just make sure that you ground before your sessions, you ground after, and continue doing your self Reiki every day. I don't know about you all, but a lot of my students are not very good about giving themselves Reiki. What about the people that are on the call right now? How many of you would say you give yourself Reiki for at least 5 minutes, 5 days a week?
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Okay, well,
I'm trying to get back into the
Most
habit.
of the time.
What'd you say, Brianna?
I'm trying to get back into the habit of that.
That's a really amazing habit to have. Really, really important.
I don't do it often enough, but I do it.
Well, I hope you're doing it while you're recovering from your hip surgery. I mean, you probably are stuck at home, not doing a whole lot.
No, I've been out a little bit. I go to the gym and to rehab.
Okay. All
And
right.
I go to the store on the scooter. That's
Okay.
fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, I give myself Reiki every day. I would say an average of 30 minutes. Some days it's up to 2 hours. And how I do that is say I wake up at 6:30 and I don't want to get out of bed at 6:30. So I just start doing Reiki, and then I'll fall back asleep and that Reiki will keep flowing, and then I'll wake up at 8:30. And now I've given myself a 2 hour treatment while I was sleeping. That was really a good use of my time. So some days it might only be 10 minutes, but I would say it averages out to about 30 minutes a day because that's just what I need to keep myself sane and stable and grounded. All right. So we just discussed taking on other people's illnesses and protect yourself from taking on others' energy. So you can't pick up somebody's illness, like if they have cancer, you're not going to get cancer. Reiki energy runs, down. If you pick up somebody else's energy, it may not feel good, but you can clear it. Oh, another thing you can do is at the end of the session, hand the person off to your higher power. Just intend to let them go. You've done what you can, and it's not your responsibility. Let it go, and intend to not be attached to the outcome. You do your best and you let it go. Because the more you're attached to the outcome, the more likely it is that you are connecting into their energy field. And everybody needs to be in their own energy.
I think that was one of the most powerful things that I learned from you. Not being attached to a certain outcome, because it doesn't mean, you might think it's not working if that happened. You could think that for some reason, but it's serving the higher good. So the outcome of that might not be the one you're thinking of. So when I'm treating my daughter for her seizures, sometimes maybe I notice a difference in patterns, but I always notice a difference in maybe her anxiety eased up for her, or maybe she's having a better week. So I think I remember that being one of the things when I reached out to you as a desperate mom back then, that you said that really stuck with me. And it really opened up my mind a little more to everything back then when it was new to me.
Yeah. So just kind of recapping what you're saying for the person that just joined us, not being attached to outcome has been helpful, because if you don't get the healing that you want, you might think your Reiki isn't working when maybe it's just relieving anxiety. Reiki isn't necessarily going to cure things, but the research shows that it does have good efficacy with anxiety, stress reduction, depression, and pain. Same for me with my son. Reiki didn't cure my son's epilepsy, and ultimately he died, but it helped him to be calmer and have fewer seizures, I think, and a better quality of life. It also helped me because it was something that I could do when he had a seizure. And, otherwise he was living in a different city. I couldn't fly there and do anything for him, but, I could send Reiki when his father would call me and say he had a seizure. Okay, well, welcome, Pat, talking about Reiki myths. So, all right, next, somebody brought up, being dysregulated or ill and giving Reiki, like, can you give your client an illness, or can you harm them in some way if you're giving Reiki when you're not at your best? Okay, so have any of you all wondered about that?
Yes.
Okay, what's been your concern, Pat?
I don't want to ruin things when I'm trying to make them better. It's I've several times I've been ill and I've stepped back and said, wait till another time.
Yeah. I mean, if as a practitioner we're sick, with something that could be contagious, then that is a good time to not do an in-person session.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't. But, if we feel up to it, we could still do a distance session.
Distance, yes.
Yeah. So I know that I had some surgery back in February, and I actually did a Reiki session for a client distance the next day. And it actually helped me because I'm focusing on somebody else instead of my own issues. But as a professional Reiki practitioner, we give Reiki through the good and the bad in our lives. And, to be of service to somebody, we just intend to set our ego and personality aside and do the best we can. I remember when my son died, I took about a week off, and, certainly I had a lot of grief, but, I went back to sessions. The main thing is when you're going through an emotional upset and giving Reiki, do your best to focus on your client and not think about your own problems and your own upset. So that's an important guideline. Focus on your client. And, if you're having trouble with that, then just recite, like Reiki, 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 recite the names of any of the symbols, recite a healing mantra, whatever you like, to focus and refocus on your client rather than returning to your own problems. Now, can I do that perfectly? No, I sure can't. Have I thought about my problems while I was doing a Reiki session? Unfortunately, many times. But did I stay there the whole session focusing on my problems? No. No. All right. I, let it go, refocus on the client. Because if we're focused on our own problems, the energy can change and not be very good. So, all right. So Brianna is saying, my concern is if I'm dysregulated or dealing with low mental health, not being able to be a safe, grounded channel with proper energy. Okay. Well, if you feel like, you're not grounded and, you're in a bad headspace, so to speak, and you can't set that aside, then that could be a good time to maybe not do sessions for others. Instead, it could be a great time to receive, book a session with somebody else and get Reiki. So one of the things that I did, after my son died, is I contacted one of my colleagues and I had her send me an hour of Reiki every day for like weeks, to just help me and support me and, get me through. So that's a time to get Reiki energy from others. Okay, well, Vanessa, what about you? I know you've had some challenging times at times, with, especially when your daughter is in a series of bad days from seizures. And I know you've still come over to my house to assist me and still Reiki'd my whole house. I ever do that a lot. I ever Reiki the house. How do you manage that?
Of doing that. Well, self Reiki helps. And then another thing is, we're not using Reiki as our own energy. So just keeping in mind that we're just channels of, universal life energy. That's helpful to stay grounded and feel better afterwards. I'm not perfect either in the sense I can have those thoughts come up. But refocusing through mantras I like doing. Sometimes out loud and sometimes even just in my head, depending on what's going on with the client there. But I do find that, or refocusing on the symbols is very helpful for me as well.
Okay. All right. So what about the rest of you? Have you given Reiki maybe when you weren't in the best headspace, or, when you didn't feel great, but you weren't contagious? How did you do it?
I'm 4 years free of cancer, and some days I have really bad days where I think about, well, what if it comes back? And when I am in a position where I can give the Reiki to somebody, I forget all about my problems,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels like I've been re-energized.
Yes. I think that's, a really good point. Uh, it's a time to put
I do
ourselves
too.
aside and give to somebody else rather than just worrying about ourselves. And Reiki is like a soaker hose. So when Reiki flows through us, that energy is left behind. So I really love that. Well, does that anything else on giving Reiki when you're not feeling great? Does that cover it, Brianna? Okay. Well, I think we'll go on to, I should put a heart up there. Okay, I guess so. All right. So here's a couple.
Well, I'm sorry, I'll just say there are days I come there and I'm just like feeling a wreck, and then after I Reiki the house it's confirmation, like what she's saying, Pat, like the same thing too. Like it recharges me, and then like it can be even minutes from just starting, and I just feel so much better. So I definitely think that's very powerful.
Yeah. And I usually have her Reiki the house with a drum. So I give her one of my flat drums and then she draws Reiki symbols over it. And what do you do, Vanessa? You beat the drum and
I
sing.
just beat the drum. I haven't used the chimes in a long time, but the drums I really like. I feel like I just use what's appropriate, but the drums have been working good. And I like, because I'm really a visual thinker too. So like I'm picturing it breaks up any stagnant energy in there and clears it nicely. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just beat it.
Yeah. Yeah. Put the symbols over the drum and then you can walk around the house saying the name of the Reiki symbols. And I know
Yep.
that Vanessa is very intuitive. Sometimes she'll be raking over my bed and say, like, what happened? And it's like, oh, I had a horrible, restless like night. I couldn't get to sleep. I was up until 1 a.m. It's like, yeah, she can feel that crummy energy in the bed where I'm frustrated and upset.
What happened here? Okay. Okay. Do a little more holy fire here, and I'll ask you later. But yeah, I can tell some of those things sometimes.
All right. So a couple other ones. Reiki myth, Reiki conflicts with medicine. So Reiki is complementary and it can be used with any sort of thing. There's no contraindications to Reiki other than if somebody doesn't want it. That's really the only contraindication. If they don't want it, then we shouldn't give it. Send them prayers. And what's the difference between Reiki and prayer? Not a whole lot, other than prayers are often short and oftentimes we hold the Reiki energy longer, and it's a specific healing frequency. Here's another one. You can't do Reiki on broken bones. So actually Reiki can help quite a bit. Now, is it going to help to heal the broken bone? Maybe. Is it going to cause it to set wrong? No. And Reiki is best used in what is called the golden hour. So that is in the first 24 hours after an injury. whenever I injure myself, I endeavor to give Reiki to it right away. I've saved myself from bruises. I've dropped a huge water bottle, bigger than this, heavier than this, from up here on my foot and not even gotten a bruise because I gave it Reiki right away and I put Young Living lavender oil on it. So, and then here's another one. You can't do Reiki if someone has a pacemaker. So again, that's not a problem. It doesn't matter if they have any sort of implanted devices. We can still give them Reiki. And here's one of my bright ideas. Instead of the airport security devices, we put Reiki practitioners in there because Reiki practitioners can scan and we can feel where there's metal. If a person has a gun on them or a knife on them, we're going to be able to feel it. And wouldn't that be cool if we had Reiki practitioners at the airport instead of scanning devices? I think that would be pretty cool. So are these any Reiki myths that you all had heard about before? No? Okay, well, these are all ones that I've heard of. Are there any myths that you all have heard that you were kind of wondering about?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Well, I will just keep going because I've got 13 more here.
Oh.
And this is not even a full list.
Okay, go.
All right. How about this one? Oh, Brianna said, I heard attunements make you sick. Okay, well, that's a good one. So here's what happens. When you receive a Reiki attunement, in Holy Fire Reiki, we call it a placement. It's where you get empowered with the Reiki energy. What the energy is doing is it is in bringing in a higher vibration, and then it's causing anything that is lower vibration to gently slough off and clear. And that can create a healing reaction in a person, particularly if they don't drink enough water. Water helps to allow the body to clear toxins and things that are being released and let go of. So a person could end up with a little bit of a headache or nauseousness. Well, then the person needs to drink more water and ground. And, it's possible to have some sort of healing come up for several days. Some lineages teach that you're going to be clearing for 21 days. I kind of stopped teaching that because I didn't want to give people the idea that you're going to be sick for 21 days after receiving an attunement, because it frankly doesn't happen all that often. It only happens sometimes. And I'd rather people just know that you just need to drink some extra water. But yeah, I think that's a good one about attunement.
Is this sickness something like trying to get rid of the toxins?
It is, and the same thing can happen after a treatment. So now I give clients a handout that says drink at least 12 ounces of water in the first hour after your session. And if you should develop a headache or, nauseousness, then, continue drinking water and rest, because even after just a Reiki session, people can have some symptoms come up, generally just for about 2 days. If it's longer than 2 days, it's probably not the Reiki session. It's probably something else. Okay.
12 ounces, did you say?
Yeah. Well, and that's just a number that I came up with, that just signifies a good amount of water, to stay hydrated.
That's a lot of water.
Well, if you're supposed to drink 64 ounces a day, it's just a small part of that.
Yeah,
I think we probably all do not drink enough water.
that's what I have a problem.
Hmm. Well, I think most of us do. Okay. Was there anything you wanted to add about attunements and having side effects, Vanessa? You know, when you got
It just gives me a visual of it, of just any time you might try something new, like even maybe first went to a chiropractor or a massage, you can feel similar ways just because your body felt something different, or some stagnant energy was being released. So I don't know that it's too much different from maybe that.
I think that is an excellent point because I have a headache right now because I went to the chiropractor and got acupuncture today. And some of those needles, oh, he also did dry needling. Is like, oh my God,
Oh.
I messed my shoulders up this weekend doing push-ups. So they were all tight and like, yeah, yeah. So you're right. I mean, I've got quite a headache just from seeing the chiropractor today. And tomorrow I'll probably feel great. But today, yeah, not so much. Okay, how about Reiki is a religion? Did you have any family members that didn't want you to take Reiki because they were afraid for your soul?
My mom and dad had that idea.
What did you tell them?
I actually don't remember if I had very much conversation about it. I just said, "Oh, okay."
Hmm.
I mean, they would fight, and I'm not into fighting with them, so it's their house.
Uh-huh.
But with what I experienced and what they see me do, they let that go in quite a short time.
Oh, good.
They
Good.
worried about
That's
it in
good.
first, but I noticed them soften a great deal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I had kind of a major story with that when I was married to my second husband, who was Seventh-day Adventist. He thought that anything that wasn't Seventh-day Adventist was the mark of the beast, which meant the devil. I mean, I wasn't really familiar with that term. And anyway, that did not go well in our marriage. And I finally decided that Reiki was more important to me than the marriage because I just had this feeling that it was going to be a major force in my life. And yeah, he couldn't reconcile himself with that, because of the trainings that he had had. But Reiki goes with any religion or no religion. So you can practice Reiki if you're atheist or Buddhist or Muslim or pagan or a witch or anything. It really doesn't matter. And one of my favorite stories is when I was in Dallas one time, I had a student contact me before class and say, well, I want to make sure that, there's not any, like that this isn't a pagan or some goddess or a cult practice. And, I assured her it wasn't. And I told her that I used prayers in the class. And one of my students brought some statues of the goddess Isis. Well, this student partnered up with the student that had the statues of the goddess of Isis, and she had no idea that here she had picked somebody in class that was what she said she didn't want. And so they were practicing Reiki on each other, and I thought, I'm not saying a word. I am keeping my mouth shut. But that's one of the beautiful things. Reiki bridges all religions. And with the International Center for Reiki Training, we have teachers now in the United Kingdom, in China, in Korea, Brazil, Hong Kong, mainland China, all across the US, Canada, Ecuador, and spreading to more countries. So I think Reiki is really cool in that way, that it just helps to unite people of all different faiths and religions. Oh, we also have a student teacher in Iran, actually two people from Iran. So I think that's really cool. Now, if you have a Christian friend that is worried about your practice of Reiki, you can send them to reiki.org. And on the home page, on the bottom left, there's a little hot link on Reiki for Christians. And it will take you to some pages that talks about, is Reiki appropriate to practice for Christians? And it will give you like Bible verses, and questions and answers. It'll give you some testimonials from like a minister, a priest, and a nun. It will, give you questions that people might ask and answers. So I think that is a really good resource. Okay, reiki.org, homepage, bottom left, Reiki for Christians. So any other, questions or thoughts about that, practicing Reiki with your particular religion? Okay, well, that is probably actually one of the biggest ones. And Reiki teachers come from all different walks of life. And in our Reiki classes, at least all of the International Center for Reiki training teachers follow a specific curriculum, but we can all add in our own flavor. And, for me, I consider myself, Christian, but I also like some things from other religions too. And I honor people of any religion, but I incorporate prayers into my sessions. Someone else who might be Jewish, might do it differently, or somebody who is Buddhist or Wiccan. One of our teachers, at least one, is Buddhist. So she may teach slightly different and incorporate Buddhist elements. You can do any of that. You're free to make it whatever you want. There's only the dogma of the Reiki ideals in Reiki, and that is just for today. We let go of anger. We let go of worry. We do our work honestly. We're grateful, and we're kind to others, beginning with ourselves. So that's the only dogma that there is. Okay. Oh, here's another good one. You must believe in Reiki for it to work.
Say again, please.
You must believe in Reiki for it to work.
Oh,
yeah. I know my boyfriend told me that. He said, well, I don't know that I really believe in it. But then on the other hand, he's telling me he thinks Reiki is responsible for helping him through some major problems and surgeries and things. So it's kind of funny. But, he's Catholic. So, the Catholics are often taught that there's really only Catholicism, and everything besides that may not be right and could be wrong or dangerous or, something. But here's a cool story I wanted to share. I was asked to give Reiki to a baby in a hospital that was having failure to thrive. It wasn't eating well, and its heart rate was high. Its oxygen level was really low. They had it hooked up to monitors. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to do a 30-minute session right now from my office while the baby is in the hospital, hooked up to these monitors. And so I hung up the phone I did 30 minutes of the session. I called back and they said they couldn't believe it. But during that time, the heart rate stabilized
Wow.
and the oxygen level returned to normal levels. So that was pretty amazing. I mean, obviously, this was an infant that didn't know I was sending it Reiki. You know, it didn't have to believe in Reiki. It just, there's the monitors, you know, showing that it was working.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Have any of you had, you know, situations where somebody is saying, well, I'm not sure it's going to work, but okay, I'll let you try it on me. Anybody want to share about that?
I think several people have done that to me, and it's really funny because when I get to the end of the session, they're asleep.
Yeah, yeah. I know. We get bonus points if we put somebody to sleep during a Reiki session, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, clearly they needed to rest.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then when you wake them up, do they say, oh, I feel really relaxed?
Yeah, that if they can talk, they're sort of like,
A little disoriented.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, good. So you
They
know.
think it's just because they relaxed, and I can't fight with that, but I think they receive the other benefits as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, Reiki does help you relax. All right. Well, that's a good one. Vanessa, anything that you want to share about that?
Well, I don't mind. My experiences are more so of not that, like we were just talking about it being religious, but people ask me if it's magic. And I've traveled, like in Zambia. I've been to Zambia, and there it's not common yet or popular yet there.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have some mixed reactions about it. But as far as believing in it, I don't. I'm. I don't know if I have anything to share about it. But people will definitely let me try, and then they definitely believe in the results after, and how better they feel
Mm-hmm.
after the session.
Yeah. Well, that can often be a good approach, you know, just to say, okay, well, you know, how about you let me give you a little 15-minute sample session and, you know, see how you feel, see if you feel more relaxed. It does work best if the person is able to relax. You know, I one time had a client that was so uptight, the energies just wouldn't flow very well. And so it was hard for her to get the benefit from it because, you know, she was laying there like, so finally, what I started doing is having her lay face down with her eyes closed instead of face up with her eyes open. And then she was able to relax more. Another cool tool is to start using some sound healing, you know, like maybe doing the drum and drumming over the person slowly and rhythmically, not too loud to be annoying. But that can help the mind to calm and still so that the person can relax more. So well, guess what? I have enough stuff left to talk about Reiki and myths another time. Because I still have like 10 items left. And you all added a few, and I'm sure, you know, if you think about it long enough, you can think about other ones too. So I think it's pretty interesting to talk about, you know, the myths and the things that people, the misconceptions that people might be worried about, you know, because it's good to dispel these myths so that they don't stop people from practicing Reiki or receiving a Reiki session that can help them physically, mentally, spiritually, or emotionally. So I wanted to say thank you to all of you for participating. You know, it makes it more interesting when we have your input and comments. And thank you to Vanessa for joining us and adding your insights and experience.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you all.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Well, love and hugs to all of you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so
We'll see you
much.
next time.
Okay. Have a good
Okay,
night.
night.
Good night.
Bye.